Video and photo backlogs can leave you overwhelmed, exhausted, and burnt out. We've been there, and our fears of outsourcing stopped us in the past. Can you find an editor as invested in your brand as you are? Will other photographers and filmmakers we network with look down on us for not editing everything on our own? That fear of outsourcing can be detrimental to your career. That's why we love our partnership with Weditor. Their attention to details with not only our work, but also their care for their clients through all steps of the outsourcing process lets us fully step back from editing and focus on what we love, knowing our work is receiving the attention it needs. More than just editing, Weditor is passionate about demystifying the outsourcing market. Follow Weditor on Instagram at we_r_Weditor for free educational tips, tools, and resources to guide you through the insanity of today's editing market. For an even deeper dive, follow Weditor's blog at weditor.com/outsourcing.
Welcome to the We Got You podcast, a network curated for wedding photographers and filmmakers that dives deep into the strategies and tactics to transitioning a side hustle in the wedding industry into a full-time, thriving career. We're your hosts, luxury wedding filmmaker Emma K. Films and luxury destination wedding photographer Hannah Brook Photography. It wasn't too long ago that we picked up our cameras for the first time, having absolutely no idea where it would lead us. Years later, we're traveling the globe for beautiful destination weddings, built our dream lifestyles, and run multi-six-figure careers. It didn't happen overnight and it wasn't easy, but it is attainable and so worth it. And we're ready to teach you our strategies. Covering a variety of topics from both our first-hand experiences and reputable guest speakers' insights crucial for business growth, we're exploring the art of marketing within your niche, discussing effective ways to attract and retain clients, leverage social media, and build a strong online presence, and so much more. We're not shying away from talking through the challenges of the wedding industry and offering realistic solutions to navigate them successfully. We emphasize the importance of networking, establishing meaningful relationships with clients, and continuously honing one's craft to stand out in a competitive market. This is the We Got You podcast.
Good morning, We Got You podcast. Hannah and I are super excited to be here today. I always say that. I always say that we're so excited to be here.
We are.
We are so excited to be here. I need to find new phrases.
New adjectives, yeah.
New adjectives. We are ecstatic. We couldn't be more stoked. I say that all the time. But anyways, I was just about to say it again. That is how routine, you guys, it gets sometimes when you're recording podcast episodes and this is the 178th one and you feel like you are saying the same thing over and over again sometimes. Like, how many times have I said, whether you're watching in your office or in your car on your way to work, it's so hard. It's so easy to like get into the routine of saying things. And also, I drank a Celsius this morning, so I am really on one. So for everyone who's watching, thanks for being here. And I hope that this episode is easy to follow along with. But Hannah and I just wanted to, Hannah's dying happy, right?
I'm like, we could go down 800 rabbit holes in today's episode, or it could be easy to follow along with. So I guess we'll see which one it is.
Yeah, it's up to you. It's your choice. But we just kind of wanted to do a check-in, a mental health check-in with everyone. Because I think obviously, it's been a weird year, I think, for everyone, just in terms of bookings, and obviously prices have gone up all across the board, which we are not here to talk politics, and I don't want to see politics in our Facebook group. But it's, and I think like even in the educator space, there's just been a lot happening. But we just wanted to check in with everyone. Just wanted to kind of chat through like how Hannah and I have been this year, what our wedding seasons are looking like and have looked like. Because we honestly have very different wedding seasons this year, just in terms of like even scheduling. And like, I don't know. I just we've seen and been reading through a lot of people in the Facebook group who are kind of bummed out about just this year and like their bookings and stuff. And we want you to know that you're not alone. And yeah, it's kind of been a weird year for everyone.
Yeah. And honestly, like this podcast is also a place, like we have a space for mental health check-ins and like really want you guys to feel like that's a safe spot, whether it's in the Facebook group or on Instagram or just like anywhere that you connect with the podcast in general, like we just want you to know like that is still a piece of, you know, who we are and what we want to make sure is important when we're talking about it in the industry. And with it being May, like you said, I just feel like it's such a good time right now to check in, because for some people, they have been nonstop since 2023 and they are just still going, and they've had full wedding season so far, or at least been really busy. And some people haven't started weddings yet, and both of them are totally great. It's just really like what is working, I guess, for you and like how you're feeling. I know like I haven't had any weddings yet, and my weddings start literally in like a week or two, and then they really kick in July and August. But I've almost felt like this weird, like, not like twiddling my thumbs of like waiting for something to happen, but you know, it's like the grass is always greener. I feel like, oh, I just see everyone shooting these incredible weddings and I'm like, oh, I just really want that. But I know when I get to July and August, I'm going to like be craving this time that I like get to be an aunt. I get to hang out with my dog and take him like on hikes and everything. I get to be with my husband. And so it's like this really weird like middle ground of like really trying to stay present with where you are and not get overwhelmed either way.
It's interesting because I think we as creatives are naturally busybodies, right? Because we run our own business. We're so used to like this hustle culture. We're so used to having to grind all the time. And if you're not grinding, then you're not going to find success. If you're not hustling, then like, what are you doing? But we're hustling to find, you know, like quote unquote, like personal freedom of just being able to like, again, spend time with your family, spend time with your friends, like vacation, like that's what we're hustling for. But then when we're presented with that time, it's like, we don't know what to do. So we're like, we just like can't get out of hustle mode. And like, I experience that all the time. Whereas like, I am like, okay, like I'm working really hard because like I want to have time off, and I'm working really hard because I want to spend time with my family, my friends. But then when we actually like get that time, it's like, I don't know what to do. Like, I have to just keep hustling, or I feel like, oh my gosh, I'm bored. You know, so there's like so many things that I think we struggle with just as creatives and as like hustlers in this culture, that are tough, you know?
Yeah, well, and it's like, it's been ingrained in us that to start a business, it is hard. And there's no joke about that. Like, it is hard to start and run and have your own business. But then it's like what you said, like when you finally hit a point where like you can be content and you have financial freedom, or you're like, okay, like I'm in my off season, or okay, I've hit the spot of how many bookings I want to have, and now I'm allowed to take like the other Saturdays off or like be with friends and family. You like don't know how to function because it's so ingrained that you have to hustle and do that next thing. But I had a friend who we talked just the other day, and she was like, Hannah, is there ever a point where you feel content? Like where you feel like just like good and like, okay, I don't always have to be like hustling for the next thing. And it was so interesting hearing that, because I was like, oh my gosh, of course. Like you feel content, and then a couple months later you're like, oh, I want to like keep hustling. But it was just crazy hearing her say that, because I was like, while I think, oh my gosh, of course, I also realized I haven't always let myself be content or like have those like, I guess like plateau moments where you're like, okay, I'm just going to like sit here and like breathe and then keep going. Where it's like to everybody else, especially with social media, it just looks like everyone is going nonstop, which I think a lot of people do. And that has all the cons of its own, but it's just kind of crazy.
And it's like that healthy, like you have to have or try to have a healthy balance with it, because obviously like we're not encouraging you to be lazy or to just do nothing and to just like hope the bookings come in and like, right. But like we're talking on the complete other side of the spectrum, whereas like you have set yourself up in a way where you have some free time. You have only booked 12 weddings this year. Like you've reached your goal, and like it is important to rest. Like this is my first year of like not filming nearly as many weddings. Like I would film 25 weddings a year consistently for years. And this is the first wedding where I am only filming 12 to 15. And I've had so much more time to just breathe and just enjoy being present. And like I struggle with it all the time. And especially right now, I think my biggest struggle is in the education space. And like I have to say, especially as an educator, obviously at the beginning of this year, I released my course. I released, you know, like the networking templates have been out for over a year, but like I really started to launch some things that I've been really excited and passionate about. And those were great. And it went great. But then it's like just seeing, I think, especially over the last few months, every educator I know is releasing something, whether it's a course or a workshop or a retreat. Like, and I have to say this, I am so freaking proud of every single one of my friends in this industry that have released education. So none of this comes in any type of like negative form, because I couldn't be more stoked for them. Really, like the education that is out there right now was not out 5 years ago. And especially like some of our friends in this industry have created such beneficial, needed educational platforms. And I love that. But with that, I think even in my own head is, again, like that comparison syndrome as an educator, just being like, wow, there's all these things releasing, like what have I done? And it's like that constant, I need to do this and I need to do this. And if everyone else is offering this, then I need to create this. And like, I've struggled with that a lot. And it is constantly checking back in with myself and reminding myself, Emma, you are creating it for the wrong reasons. Like you're wanting to push more education past what you've already released just because everyone else is doing it. So don't do it. And honestly, like I really stopped like doing a lot of the marketing for my course. I was like, we're going to take a break right now. We're just going to recognize the other educators in this space who have created incredible platforms, and we're just going to rest. And that honestly, truly is the best thing that I've done for myself. But I can say that I do struggle all the time with wanting to constantly create because others are creating. And it's a constant battle. Like I wish I could tell you that I wasn't thinking those things, but like I have to remind myself constantly that like, Emma, it is okay to just rest and to watch other people do things. And it's that fear of like, will I still be relevant? Will people still want to learn from me when I do release education? And when I created the education that I've released, it's because it's come from a place of passion. It's become a place of like, I wanted it to come out because I believe in this and I need my audience to have it. And so when you start to feel this, like, I need to just create content for other people to see because I need to stay relevant, like that's the wrong reasons, but it's a struggle,
Well, it's like such a mind game. And I feel like just like everybody who's listening understands this when you say just owning a business and running a business is a mind game. Like all the ways you can get in your head, the ways that you can get in your own way, like you're making all the decisions, but then also trying to learn what decisions to make and how to follow through with them and everything is just a lot. And I don't know, I think everybody, regardless of what level we're on, can be that way. And when I think about like, okay, like what really helps when it comes to like getting in your head and like feeling like you have to hustle and constantly comparing is, I think for myself personally, finding something completely outside of my business that I absolutely love and I want to pour time into. You know, like when you have, like I have my husband, my dog, his whole family lives in the state that we're in. We just had a couple nieces be born within the last couple months. And here's the thing, I love spending time with his family, love being an aunt. And it's like, once you realize, okay, I absolutely love doing these other things and you're spending time doing something else that you love, you don't feel guilty about not hustling. And it's crazy because then you feel like, okay, I'm spending my time doing something I love. And instead of sitting and like, watching a TV show and being like, oh, I should be working, I should be doing this. Oh, I just like feel guilty about this. Or like, I should be doing this extravagant wedding that I'm on Instagram do. Okay, remove yourself from what you're doing in that moment and go do something you love, because you'll never regret that. And I also feel like finding something that you can like pour into outside of business is so healthy when it comes to like burnout and everything. But regardless, like I know so many of us are like, okay, but like I am married, I do have kids, but I still feel that pressure to hustle. Find a hobby for yourself. Go start pickleball. Go find a girlfriend and go to the gym every couple of days every week. Maybe it is going window shopping, just like find something for yourself. Go to the salon, get a facial, get your toes done, get your nails done, something like that just for you. And then you can like, it doesn't feel like an unproductive day because one, it's self-care, it's something that you love to do, but then also it like removes you from that guilt of feeling like you have to hustle because you are actively doing something. It just might not be in the realm of business.
I couldn't love that more. And I think that has been like such a game changer for me this year is like really pursuing hobbies. I felt like, especially at the beginning of 2023, my goal that year was like, I want to get to the end of this year and I want to be able to define who I am without using my business as a crutch. And because I only could. I mean, I felt like anytime I would define myself, it was like defining myself by my business achievements or like what I had done. And I'm like, why? Like that just shows like my life is so consumed with work and it shouldn't be. And I think the best thing was finding those hobbies, finding what was I passionate about doing that wasn't work related. And I know like last year and even this year, it was like learning how to dance, right? Like taking vocal lessons just for fun, like going on hikes and spending quality time with friends. Like I've tried pottery classes and really enjoyed it. And like just doing little things like that have given me hobbies that I enjoy that feels like something productive other than work. It's not just sitting down and watching a movie, right? Which don't get me wrong, those things are great. Like I love sitting down and watching a movie on a Thursday evening. Yeah, you also might need
that for self-care.
Yeah, but like just finding something that you can pour some time into where you're able to have a hobby. And I think that has been really beneficial for me of being like, no, this is who Emma is. And it's not just defined by work. Because this industry can just feel so hustle oriented. And it almost seems like we're like trying to like not get you to hustle. And that's not like, there are periods where it is important, right? But I think it is healthy balance because there are people who are so consumed by work that it's not healthy. And I've been there. We've both been there.
Yeah. And I mean, like we've said, like it's hard work. We just don't want you to be suffocated by it. We don't want you to feel overwhelmed by it. And, whatever it is that you're doing outside of work can be a one-off something. It can be, okay, this one time I'm trying a pottery class. It might not be my thing, but like trying it, you did something new. You put yourself out there, like, something like that. But then also, everybody listening, do not use the cop-out of, but photography is my hobby or video is my hobby. And so that's why I love that this is my job. We totally understand, but I don't think doing emails is your hobby. I don't think culling through 5,000 photos. So there's parts of your business that we know that you do not love to do, and that can get overwhelming. Sure, the shooting is amazing. Maybe you love the editing, working with the couples, but all of it isn't glamorous. And so it's like you still need to find something outside of that. It might be what you love, but we all need something else as well.
Does your current client delivery system feel unexciting, limiting, and boring? Maybe you're still using good old Google Drive or Dropbox to deliver your clients' wedding films. If the answer to these is yes, it's time to level up your video delivery experience with VidFlow. VidFlow is a pay-per-use online platform that allows you to deliver fully branded websites for each of your clients. While being incredibly affordable, VidFlow is accessible on mobile, desktop, and smart TVs with included long-term hosting so that your clients can truly enjoy the entire experience when receiving their wedding films. When I first found VidFlow, it was such an easy switch that truly benefited my business substantially. With so many incredible features and options for customization and personalization, VidFlow continues to wow my clients time and time again. You can find VidFlow on Instagram or visit their website at vidflow.co. Use our code WGY20 for 20% off a yearly premium membership and level up your client experience today with VidFlow.
I also feel like the industry this year obviously has been pretty funky for everyone. I feel like we've kind of been in this like weird lull of like people are getting less bookings this year and less inquiries, and clients are having lower budgets. And I think a lot of people have been like, what's your opinion on that? Like, what do you think? And honestly, I'm like, the wedding industry comes in waves. It really does. I mean, in COVID, like we obviously saw it surge as much as we saw the wedding industry surge as much as we thought the wedding industry would die off. Like we had a lot of canceled weddings, but then we had a lot of booked weddings. And then right after COVID, it just got crazy with bookings. And really like this year is just like a slow year because honestly, it's one of the first normal years. It's like 2022, everyone was like booking galore, and then they were booking ahead for 2023 like crazy. And this is the first year where like honestly no one's really been in a rush. And I think we did see a lot of people start their own businesses. We did see a lot of photographers and videographers join this industry, which is a great thing, but at the same time obviously that means for more competition. And I think for everyone who is feeling like, oh man, like I'm just struggling with bookings this year. And like, I don't know, like, am I going to be able to pay my bills at the end of the year? Am I going, because I've talked to a lot of people who are like, I might need to go back to a 9-to-5. And like, that breaks my heart to hear how sad they are, like how much joy you just feel like is taken from them because they're like, I'm just not getting the bookings that I want to. And granted, everyone's situation is so entirely different from the other. So we can't sit here and give you a blanket statement that's just going to like miraculously change the trajectory of your business as much as we want to. But I think like this is the year to really sit back and reflect what your brand looks like and who you're targeting, where you want to be. It's really the year to write down your goals. Like if you're feeling like you're struggling, figure out why you're struggling. Don't just say like, I'm just not getting the inquiries and I just don't have the connections with planners. Okay, if you don't have the connections with planners, then you need to make those connections happen. Yeah. If you feel like you don't have a portfolio that's getting you into the market that you want to be in, then you need to make that portfolio for yourself. There are actionable steps that you can take, but you can't just take them on a whim. You really have to like sit down and reflect and just be like, okay, where are we right now? What is going on in my business? What does my brand look like? Am I trying to get into the high-end market, but my brand looks like it's this elopement $3,000 budget photographer type of look? Because those aren't correlating. And so again, it's everyone is different in terms of what their business looks like. And so we can't give that blanket statement, but like this is the year if you're struggling to like really reflect on what actionable steps you can take and where you feel like your weak points are.
Yeah. And honestly, every year is different. Like, not because of COVID, but because of the wedding industry being just an ever-changing style. Yeah. Trends are changing, styles are changing, what people are prioritizing on wedding days are changing, locations and the dream destinations are changing, you know, like there are several constants that we can always like know, okay, people are going to get married, you know, they are going to be booking photo, video, you know, there are specific locations that are like the dream locations or whatnot. Like there are still constants that we can really like rely on, but at the same time, every year it's going to change. And what that means is that every year you do have to pivot. And COVID threw a whole wrench in the plans when it came to like, okay, it's not just a small pivot this year, like we are drastically changing everything. And then like, you know, that offlow from, you know, COVID weddings and everything, just really changing, you know, what that looks like. There were so many weddings. And so like, how are you booking? How are you pricing yourself? Supply and demand, you know, how far out are you booking? All that stuff. Whereas now, like you were saying, it's slowly going back to like more of a normal wedding season of how early, how long it's taking people to book, you know, XYZ when it comes to that booking process. But really it just means that right now is the time to do the work because every year changes. And right now we're looking at another change for 2025. I think a lot of people are concerned because they don't have inquiries for 2025. But I mean, I'll be the first to say like, I don't have 2025 inquiries and I'm not worried about it because I know that they will come. And also it comes with the confidence in your pricing and your brand and what are you putting out there? How are you marketing? You know? And so it really is, okay, now is the time to like put your head low and do that work for 2025. Or if you're still looking at booking for 2024, I literally was telling Emma last month, I just booked like 2 August weddings for 2024, which is crazy because I feel like back when I first started, if I didn't have everything booked a year out in advance, I would stress out. And here I am 6 months, you know, in advance. And I'm like, okay, I'm still filling up my calendar, but there are people that are prioritizing photo, that are paying, you know, what my prices are, that are really aligned with my branding. It just might not be the same timeline that they're taking to find you, which is going to look different next year and the year after that and the year after that. So like do the work. Make sure that your work is like ready for those people to find you. And like, I don't know, if I cannot stress this enough, don't stress. Like the second you start to stress, I think you start to make decisions out of fear and you start to change your pricing out of fear, change your branding, change what you're posting or sharing, or maybe having that paralyzing effect where you're not sharing and you're not posting because you're so nervous of, well, what if my work isn't good enough? Or what if nobody's going to book? Or what if this isn't doing anything? You know, like the second you start to stress, everything decision is made out of fear, and every decision made out of fear is not the best decision for you because you're not clear-minded. You're not coming from a place of confidence of knowing your brand, quote unquote cliche saying, but like knowing your worth too, you know, like you've got to back yourself first.
And like at the beginning of my career back in like 2019, I would book weddings for the next year, like a year in advance. That was normal. That was normal, right? And then it's like there was a period of time where people were booking their weddings, like booking so far out. Whereas now it's like, I just got 2 wedding inquiries for 2024. And like, I'm not concerned about booking 2025 because when I first started my business, I was booking 2025 like in July and August and September and even like later then, right? But we were just so used to, especially during COVID, of like, no, they're booking so far out that like if I'm not getting these inquiries in January for like next following year, July, then like something must be wrong. But no, it's just the wedding industry ebbs and flows. And like you have to just kind of ride the wave. Again, putting in that hustle of like being realistic with yourself on like, okay, I'm in May of 2024 and I have 3 weddings this year and I wanted 20, right? There's like a huge gap there. Then being like, all right, what is missing? And like really sitting down and putting in the work. And like, I can't say enough too, like how beneficial mentorships are, how beneficial it is to like learn from someone, to have someone else look at your business and say, hey, like I'm struggling. Where is it coming from? Even to this day, like we're both investing in mentorship still of like elevating our experience and our pricing and like just having someone else look inside and be like, hey, can you help me with this? And I even think like peer-based too, like there's so much benefit of being in Facebook groups, of being able to network with those who you are inspired by, but also those that you really enjoy networking with on Instagram. Maybe it's someone just like you, like really just like taking the time to like build your community and seek advice from other people. Because it never hurts to try. And I think you can learn a lot from other people that sometimes making those decisions yourself. Yeah. Like, are you making it out of fear? Are you just absolutely terrified? And like, yeah, don't make any decisions out of fear if you haven't talked to anyone else.
Well, and I feel like I said this a lot last year, but I remember last year I kind of had a shift in my branding when it came to like my editing style, pricing, my website, you know, just like what I was really putting out there. And I remember telling myself like, I'm not allowed to stress. I'm not allowed to worry about this. Like I need to be confident and back myself in what I'm putting out there. And then in 6 months, if I'm not getting bookings, that's my panic month. Like once it comes to that timing, I'm going to give myself an amount of time. And then in November or in August or September, you know, pick a timeline for yourself where you're like, okay, if this is not working by that time, that's when I start to panic. Okay, that's when I'm going to reevaluate and not necessarily like panic, like go into chaos mode. But like in my mind, I was like, okay, you're not allowed to panic yet because you're going to schedule that like 6 months out. And so then you give yourself that time not to worry about it, not to stress. You're literally not allowed to because don't worry, I'll panic about that later, you know, but it like lets yourself, I also have like anxiety. So I think that's also where my mindset goes where I'm like, nope, we're just going to really let it be. And we're going to put that aside and we'll worry about that later if this isn't working. And I'm just going to really dive into what I'm doing right now. And guess what? Every single time I hit that quote unquote panic month, I am booking and it is working. But if I hadn't given myself that time, I could have easily changed prices, changed what I was doing, what I was putting out there, and it wouldn't have worked. And I honestly would have, in my mind, thought, oh, it's because people won't book me at this price. Not because I didn't back myself and give myself enough time. So like, I just hope that if you're listening, because I know with it being May, it's like a lot of time when a lot of people are booking for next year and are, you know, having these extravagant weddings this year. I just hope if you're listening, like you feel a little bit refreshed knowing that like we're not booking out for 2025. Like we're getting inquiries. We're not like half booked. We're not even like, you know, fill up 2025 right now. It's just like really letting our branding and our work speak for itself so that those people come to us who we feel like are really aligned. And it's not the time to panic right now. It's not the time to stress right now. It's really just the time to like put in the work and like really trust yourself and be confident in like where you are.
Yeah, I honestly couldn't say it more. And that's really what we wanted this episode to be. It was just like a very heart-to-heart conversation of just like, hey, like this is where we're at. These are things that we've been struggling with in the industry lately. And that, again, like not to panic for next year, to really just like reflect on your business, put in the work now, use the weddings that you do have to really push yourself in a way for next year's weddings. And if you have any questions or any thoughts on this, if you are someone who genuinely you're listening to this and you're like, I'm struggling right now, I feel like I may need to go work a 9 to 5 again, please reach out to Hannah or I. Please reach out to us on Instagram. Please reach out to us in the Facebook group. You can post a unanimous post. You can reach out to us privately in an Instagram DM. But if you're feeling this way, let us help. we don't want you to go back to a 9-to-5 because you feel like you failed at your business, right? Like that's not what we want at all. We've all had moments of fear. We've all had moments where we're like, am I going to pay my bills this year? It's not just this like uphill climb and it just keeps climbing, right? You have to go through, it's like waves. There's ebbs and flows, just like the wedding industry is just like your business. There are moments of highs and moments of lows, and we want to be there for you. So if you feel like you've been struggling lately, or maybe you feel like I'm doing good, like please hop in our Facebook group and share that with other people. Share your wins, share advice with others. Community is so valuable, especially in a time like this, that it's important not to brag, but to make other people feel better, to give advice, to give feedback. That's what we want to use our Facebook group for. And so we can't thank you enough for listening to this week's episode. And yeah, we'll see you next week.
Thanks for listening to another episode of the We Got You podcast. We would absolutely love it if you could take an extra minute to leave us a review and let us know what you think. DM us a screenshot of it and we'll send you a coffee on us. If you want access to an exclusive community, rad freebies, giveaways, and wedding referrals, then join our Facebook group today. Also, if you aren't already, subscribe to our YouTube channel and make sure that you're following along on Instagram at WeGotYou_podcast to stay up to date. We'll see you next week on the We Got You podcast.